What's up everybody? Welcome to the channel, back to DJing. Today we're going to have a look at my DJ controller, the DDJ RR. We'll have a look at the features and pros and cons, who I think it's made for, and whether I think it's a good buy. So stay tuned and we'll get right into it. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is have a look at the general build quality and layout of the unit, and then we'll move into some of the features and so on. So the first thing you're likely going to notice about this controller when you unbox it is probably going to be the weight. At 3.7 kilograms, it's going to be quite a bit heavier than your average starter controller if you're used to something like a DDJ 200 or 400 or anything like that. It's going to feel quite a bit more quality already just because of the weight as soon as you unbox it. It has a metal faceplate with rubberized knobs with a fairly heavy smooth feel. The faders also have a fairly heavy smooth feel, aside from the crossfader, which has a quite a bit lighter feel. Not the best crossfader out there, but kind of middle of the road. It features aluminum mid-size jog wheels, bigger than a DDJ RB or 200 or 400, but not quite as big as a DDJ 1000. It also resembles a DJM style mixer layout. Metal cue play and sync buttons, and good quality RGB effects pads. These pads don't click at all. They don't even move. They're just pressure sensitive and very responsive. We have a 3-band EQ that can be set for total kill in the software. 3 beat effects and release effects on each deck. A needle search function, which I don't use very much. I don't find it useful at all. I use the mouse. And a nice auto beat loop with half and 2 times adjustment buttons. You can also adjust the in out of your loop, and then you also have a sequencer and sampler. The tempo adjusts are mid-size, a little bit short for most people's liking, but they are very accurate, although a little bit touchy to be able to get that accuracy out of them. We also have a nice large browse knob, which I really like, and filter effects below the EQ, and it also has an independent sampler volume. So let's have a look at the back of the controller now. And this is kind of where the DDJ RR really shines, because if you're looking to do this professionally, you want to have good quality outputs and lots of inputs and just good functionality. And as you can see, this controller has 1/4-inch booth TRS out, RCA master outs, and really one of the main selling points for me on this controller is the XLR outs. For me, that's a must on a professional controller. If you're going to be playing on quality speakers, then you want to be able to have quality sound coming out of your controllers. So for me, those are a must. You also have 2 input channels that can be used line or phono, and the phono is DVS ready, so you can just plug in and go. You got your mic input with no volume control on the back, and that's because the volume control is on the front, which is another plus. And you got your USB and power in. This can be powered via USB or DC 12 volt. And if you power USB, it just runs dimmer lighting. You plug in the 12 volt DC and all the lights shine brighter. And then you got a hanger for the cord and on off. You also got a Kensington lock if you need it. Okay, and then looking at the front of the unit, you can see I have headphones out, both 1/4-inch and 3.5 mils. And you have the headphone adjust, which is also rubberized, along with the mic level adjust, also rubberized. Little faceplate here is metal. Same with the back faceplate, it's also metal. Alright, now let's go ahead and have a closer look at some of the features of this controller. Now having a look at our performance pads, as you can see, they're red, blue, green, and they're high quality pads. They don't click, they're very responsive. And they're the same quality pads you can find on any higher end Pioneer DJ gear. We have the hot cue, which is what I'm using already. We have beat jump. Pad effects 1. pad effects too. Slicer. Then you have slicer loop, which is the same as slicer except it stays in the same loop. And then you have the sampler. And the cool thing about the sampler is you can take a beat loop, such as this one here, and you can drag that into the sampler. And now I have that in my sampler, and I can adjust the volume separately. Okay, next we got the auto beat loop, which is nice and easy to use. Quick hit of the button and it'll put a loop in for you. And you can lengthen and shorten the loop with a tap of the beat length button. Just like that. So along the top of the unit here, you have the effects controls. I really like how they work and how they're laid out. You have 3 effects per channel plus a release effect. You just turn them on and off using the button below them, and you adjust their intensity using the knob, and then you can adjust their beat timing using the beat buttons here. So for example, my first effect here is set on trans, and you can adjust that in the software. So I'll turn that on, and then you can adjust the beat timing. Now for these to work properly, you have to have all your grids laid out properly in your software. And then you can adjust the intensity. Let's try another one. Mobius saw I have set up on this one. And then the release effect right now is set on backspin, as you can see. And you can change that with the twist of the knob, echo. So you can echo out, vinyl break. That's it, backspin, echo out, and vinyl break. Then you got the jog wheels, pretty decent quality, aluminum top, touch sensitive, nice quality looking outside edge, fairly sturdy. They could be a little bit sturdier, but not too bad. And they're mid-size, so they're not as small as like a DDJ 200 or 400, but they're not as big as like a DDJ 1000 or anything like that. I think they're pretty decent, and the feel is good. You do have lights in the center of the jog wheels that you can set in the software for what you want them to represent. I have them set up right now to show when I'm close to a hot cue. So as it comes up on the hot cue, it turns the color of that hot cue. So there's the blue one. As it comes up to it, turns blue as a warning that that's coming up, and then the next one. Just like that. For the most part, I find the jog wheel lights pretty much useless, other than they look good in live streams. They make it look good, but they don't really provide a whole lot of actual useful information. I would have preferred if they had an indicator light instead, indicating where you are in the track. So there's the general overview of the DDJ RR. Now, what do we think about it? So let's start with the cons. First of all, the jog wheel indicators. That's one spot where I feel like this controller really missed out. If they were going to take the time to put lights in the jog wheels, why not add something that's a little bit more intuitive, that gives you a little bit more information? They took the time for the programming to have the lights light up for the cue points and that kind of thing. I don't think it would have took a whole lot more to put an indicator in there for the scratch DJs to be able to tell where you are on the platter. And for the most part, I find the lights that are included pretty much useless as far as information. I have them set up to show my hot cues, but I don't really use them. It's nice, they look nice, but that's about it. They look good. Other than that, they're pretty useless for the most part. So then you got the channels. It's a 2-channel controller, but it controls 4 decks. So you can flick the switch to be able to switch to deck 3 and 4, or to phono and line. So it's nice to have the 4 channels, but it's a compact mid-grade controller, and the 4 channels aren't absolutely necessary. They aren't going to make you more money as a DJ. They will maybe let you have a little bit more fun when you get to a more advanced level. But for most DJs, I don't think you really need 4 channels. I think 2 channels is just fine, especially as a mobile DJ when you're trying to keep things nice and compact and portable. Another gripe that I kind of have with this controller is the tempo faders. They are a little bit short. They aren't as short as, say, a DDJ RB, but they are fairly short nonetheless. They are more accurate though than something on a DDJ RB. They do adjust very precisely, but they're finicky to get that precise adjustment. So I find that I end up wasting quite a bit of time trying to get that exact because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. If you're a perfectionist like me, you might not like the short tempo faders quite as much, but at the same time, they are usable. If you're good enough at it, you can do it just fine. So up to you on that one. They work for me, but I would like them a little bit longer. Okay, and then another really big gripe I have with this controller is how tight everything is around the crossfader. Any scratch DJs are probably going to find the same thing. I find when I'm scratching, I'm no scratch DJ, but I do like to try and I do like to play around. And I find when I'm scratching, I oftentimes accidentally tap that play pause button with my knuckle. So it would be nice if there was just a little bit more room around the crossfader. But again, it's a mid-grade compact controller and there's always going to be gives and takes. So that's one thing. It is a little tight around that crossfader, but it is what it is. So I try to just deal with it myself. That's up to you if you're okay with that or not. All right, now let's move on to the pros. First of all, easy to use effects. I find these to be pretty easy to get used to and to get the hang of. If you have I hate to feel like I'm picking on the DDJ RB, but that's the other controller I have. So if you have the DDJ RB, don't feel bad. It's a great controller. It's just kind of what I have to compare to. And on the DDJ RB, you only have one effects knob up here, and you don't even have a release effects. So anything else that you want to do, you have to go to the software to be able to do it. So I find it nice to be able to program 3 different effects. I like to kind of stick to the same 3 effects for the most part. I might switch 1 or 2 up on the other deck depending what I'm doing. But it's nice to be able to have 3 effects ready programmed at your fingertips, plus a release effects, so 4 effects altogether that are just right there, easy to use without having to go into the software. I really like that about it. I know some people like the mixer effects like you find on the larger controllers or like you have when you're using a CDJ, but I haven't used those style yet and maybe I'm missing something, but I find these ones to work pretty good for me. And then you also have your separate filter control in the center, so that leaves those 3 effects free for any other effect that you want to use them for. And they are post fader, so anything you do on these will continue on after you fade out the song. So if you use an echo, that'll continue to echo after you fade the song out. And then we have the high performance pads. They are high performance pads. They are the same pads that you find on higher end units. So I really like that about this. I pound on these things and I don't feel like they're gonna give out on me anytime soon. They're super sensitive, super accurate, and just really fun to use. They got a nice feel to them. I really like the performance pads on this controller. Okay, and then we got the jog wheels, medium size. Not the best jog wheels out there, but definitely pretty decent. Better than something like a DDJ 200 or 400. And although they don't have indicators showing the position, they do have the lights in the center, which is nice. It does make it look good, despite the fact that they don't really provide a whole lot of information. One of the most important features I think on this controller are the XLR outs. to provide you with good sound quality. I think that's very important on a controller if you're going to be using it professionally. If you're just going to be in your bedroom, RCA outs are just fine. But if you're going to be using it for mobile DJing, I really think you should have XLR outs on the back. And I think that's an important quality of any professional controller. And I think that really helps step this controller up into that more professional category. Maybe not quite as high end, like I say, as a DDJ 1000. And then you got the 1/4 inch booth outputs. That's really nice to have. You can have separate control over your booth and over your master. And then it's also got all the different inputs and all that. So as far as inputs and outputs goes, I think that's one area where this controller really shines and steps up into the professional category as a mid-level compact controller. Another important quality is the front control for the mic. Oftentimes you find the volume control for the mic on the back where the input is. This is a little bit better with the control on the front. Although I don't use the mic input myself, I use my mixer. But if you are stuck with using the mic input, at least you have good control over it on the front of the unit. Now, controller preamps are notoriously not very good, so I do definitely suggest that you go with a proper mixer setup. That's what I did, and that's partly because I found the preamps on the mic not to be that great. So just be cautious of that. It's not really any different than in any other controller. Most controllers are like that. So not really something you can hold against it. Then you got the auto beat loop. I really like the auto beat loop on this controller. Nice and easy to activate, nice and easy to set the length of the loop, and nice and easy to set permanent loops into your hot cues. So really like that. Really easy, really functional. Overall, I find this controller really functional. And then you got the nice quality finish with the metal top, rubberized knobs, really professional feeling. I would love to have something maybe like a DDJ 1000, but I definitely also am happy with this for the time being. So in conclusion, do I recommend that you buy the DDJ RR? Well, it gets a little bit sticky there as I don't believe it's any longer in production, but it can still be found for sale at the odd store here and there. I got it just a few months ago off Amazon, but the stock has dried up now on Amazon. But if you can find it used on Marketplace for anywhere from maybe $500 to $800, I'd say it's worth the money depending on the condition. Obviously, if you're going to pay $800 for it or so, you're going to want it in good condition. I paid $1,000 new on Amazon about 5 or 6 months ago. So that should give you a bit of an idea. That's Canadian. That'll give you a bit of an idea of its value. Mid-grade controller. Here in Canada, for me to buy the DDJ 1000 would be about $1,500. So just to give you a bit of a range of what it's worth if you happen to find it used somewhere. So I definitely recommend it if you can get your hands on one. It's a good mid-grade controller, as I've said all the way along through the video. Good quality, good feel to it, good feeling jog wheels, nice performance pads, good quality outputs, nice faders, rubberized knobs. Really, it's a good professional looking and feeling controller for a beginner to mid-level DJ, mobile DJ who wants to keep things compact. I say if you can find one, definitely go for it. It's got a good enough crossfader to learn to scratch with. It's got nice smooth faders, nice smooth knobs. It could be better on the tempo faders, but not too bad. Easy to use effects, good functionality, separate sample volume. It also has headphones mixing, so you can mix cue and master on the headphones. Booth monitor, metal pause and cue buttons that are the same as what you'll find on higher end controllers such as the 1000 or CDJs. Front controls for the mic and headphones. I forgot to mention that it's a Rekordbox controller, so you can use it for Rekordbox or virtual DJ, but you can't use it for Serato. But as far as Rekordbox controllers go, I think it's one of the more understated controllers out there. You just don't see it out there very often. But from what I can tell, the people that do own it are really happy with it, just like I am. I do plan on upgrading to a 1000 at some point, or if Pioneer offers an upgrade to the 1000 at some point, I might look at that. But for now, this is definitely going to get me started, and I think it could probably get you started too if you're looking at one of these. So that's it for now. Like and subscribe if you found some value, and we'll catch you next time.